Hello, it's calculus, and the particular aspect is the differential calculus. So the question before us is differentiate y equals x squared with respect to x using first principle. So we are going to proceed very quickly. So we have our question y equals x squared. So we are going to have y plus delta y, which is a little change in y, equals x plus delta x, which was also a little change in x, but this time around is going to be squared because whatever was happening to x also has to happen to delta x. So that's why we have to have x plus delta x being squared. Alright, so the next thing is to expand the right hand side. So when we expand this bracket, of course, it's just going to give us x squared plus 2x delta x and then plus delta x squared, and that is the new y plus change in y that we have. So the next thing now is to make change in y the subject of the formula or the subject of this expression. So for us to make change in y the subject, we are going to have y plus delta y minus y, and that's going to be equals to x squared plus 2x delta x plus delta x squared. And since we are subtracting y from the left hand side, we have to subtract y from the right hand side as well. So in this case, y minus y will be cancelled out. So we'll be left with only delta y on this side, and that's going to be equals to x squared plus 2x delta x plus delta x squared. And in the place of y here, from the very first question, we have y equals to x squared. So in the place of y, we are going to have it to be minus x squared. And when we have it to be minus x squared, it means that this x squared can cancel this x squared because x squared minus x squared becomes 0. So the two x squared are gone. So we're left with only delta y. Delta y will now becomes 2x delta x plus delta x squared. 2x delta x plus delta x squared. Now when we get to this part, the next thing we need to do is to divide both sides of the expression by delta x. So that becomes delta y divided by delta x equals to 2x delta x also divided by delta x, and plus delta x squared divided by delta x. So we divide the left hand side by delta x, and moving on to the right hand side, we also divide each term of the right hand side by delta x. So we'll proceed to the other side of the board to the simplification, and we'll be having delta y divided by delta x equals to, so from this side we have 2x delta x divided by delta x. So delta x, we cancel delta x, we'll be left with only 2x there. So this is going to be 2x, and then plus delta x squared divided by delta x, will be having only one delta x, so that's going to be delta x. Alright, so we have simplified this aspect to the portion up there. So the next thing we need to do is to introduce our limit. In introducing the limit, we are going to limit delta x to tend to 0. So as delta x tend to 0 for delta y of over delta x, the same thing is going to be applicable to the right hand side. That's limit as delta x tends towards 0 of 2x plus delta x. And when we introduce limits to the left hand side for delta y over delta x, what happens is that it's going to change delta y over delta x to dy by dx. dy by dx when we limit the left hand side. And that becomes, to the right hand side, when we limit delta x tending towards 0 for the right hand side, anywhere we see delta x, we just need to put what? 0 in its place. So that becomes 2x plus 0 in the place of delta x, because delta x is tending towards 0. So we'll be left with, therefore, delta y over delta x will be just what? 2x. Because 2x plus 0 is just 2x. So that is that, using first principle to differentiate y equals to x squared with respect to x.